All right, so let's talk about Smackdown from April the 16th, 2021. We're just going to talk about the whole show because they didn't really further too many storylines on this show. They really only built one storyline throughout the entire show. So there's no reason to even break this up into pieces. Let's just do one big bang. So let's start off with the beginning, which is news and notes. Pat McAfee is now on commentary. Corey Graves was moved to Raw, and Byron Saxton, I guess, is also on Raw. I don't know who else would be on SmackDown. I pitched the idea, to put Mickey James on SmackDown. I don't see why they didn't do it. It's very strange that you would have somebody who never was never in the ring do commentary on at this time. Like Pat McAfee, he wrestled one match. I think he wrestled two matches. He doesn't have like an encyclopedic knowledge of being in the ring like a wrestler would normally have, and that's really who you would have do color most of the time. You would have an actual wrestler, but that doesn't mean much of anything because he was still very good. Pat McAfee was entertaining all night, so Pat McAfee was good, and I can't complain. He was this guy is he takes it seriously. He's still entertaining. He can always just jump back in the ring if need be, so that's a good thing. We got a good one here with Pat McAfee. But I would probably put a wrestler out there too, somebody for him to argue with, outside of Michael Cole, who can barely keep himself together. It's really about time to replace Michael Cole. I know that's gonna upset at least some of my supporters, but it's got to be time to get rid of that guy. Anyway, because he botched again on this show. He botched numerous times on this show. But we're not going to get too deep into that. I'm not going to wade into that water too much. So we started the show with Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman gave us the breakdown of Daniel Bryan and Edge both being Hall of Famers and, both being married to Hall of Famers, multiple time world champions. And these guys were smashed and stacked by Roman, who of course bragged that, he's been acknowledged. He's the man. They may never put him in a triple threat match again after this because he really, nobody wants to fight him now. He's proven his point to the locker room. Nobody can beat him. There are no challengers. Which, of course, brings out Cesaro, who is, I didn't realize how tall Cesaro was until he stood with Roman in the ring. And I was like, whoa. Cesaro is deceptively big. He's deceptively big. So Roman looked at him and was like, what is this? And basically just walked off. As Cesaro asked for a mic, he was going to talk. And Roman just walked off. Like, what is it? I don't want to be bothered with this, So he took off, and can't say I blame him. Cesaro he's a decent promo, but I mean, come on. So this was very interesting. Cesaro is going to be probably not be the first opponent though. I believe that we're going in the right direction with Cesaro. This is a good thing. They started showing the swing all night, the UFO. So let's just keep that going. Let's keep that going because this is very interesting. They showed it like 7 times that he was using the UFO. That how amazing the UFO was. They just kept using it, kept showing it, kept showing it. I was like, oh my goodness, they really trying to get this guy over now. And it was, a little too late. I mean, he was really good 5 years ago. He was really good 6 years ago. But they're doing a good job of trying to get him over. They're trying to show people that it was rare that you see them talk about a move so much. They really kind of picked out this one move and to say, hey, this move is so spectacular. We're going to run with this as being the thing we're trying to get him over with. And I really don't know if that's going to work. Like, I know, like, they really got over the RKO, the 3 most dangerous letters. But they usually don't use a move as a thing to get somebody over, Usually when that happens, it doesn't really work, because people don't really get attached to moves. They get attached to personalities. And they really haven't done a great job of showing us Cesaro's personality. And as far as, sit down interviews, doing backstory on him, where he came from, who is he really, that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that people really need that they never had with Cesaro. He's been in WWE almost 10 years. Well, I think he has been in WWE 10 years. maybe even longer. And we never had a sit down interview with him talking about where he came from, you know, friends, family, previous experiences. How did he feel in this situation or in that situation? He never did anything like that with Cesaro. So you're in a weird situation where this guy's been around for a long time, but he's a complete enigma. He's completely enigmatic. We have no idea about this guy. Like, we really don't know that much of anything except he's a phenomenal athlete. And that he looks the same in 2020, 2021 that he looked in 2013, 2014, etc. He is in the same shape. He's seemingly not aging. He's still tremendous. We have no idea who he is. And that's something that we really need. That needs to change. They need to stop showing us the goddamn UFO and start doing sit down promos so he can just talk about growing up in Switzerland or whatever and what made him get into wrestling. Even if you have to kayfabe some stuff, kayfabe it. If you got to kayfabe some stuff, kayfabe it, baby. Anyway, Paul Heyman cut a promo on Cesaro, basically, talking about Cesaro physically. It might be a great athlete, but he's not main event material. So, he says, well, Roman accepts your challenge, but you're going to get a main event match. But it's going to be against main event Jey Uso, not against Roman Reigns. Because Cesaro is not an attraction. He's not a star. So Roman's not going to waste his time with Cesaro. And, usually promo 101, you want to build the guy up. They're doing a good job because Cesaro is basically coming out of the wilderness. He is basically a dude that most people have not looked at favorably for a long time. So you have to change perception. And the one thing the way you do that is by having him do stuff and overcome obstacles like perception. People are perceiving that he's not going to be a challenge. You have to show him doing something. So I guess we're going to build, that's what we're building up to. So then Cesaro talked and basically, I skipped the part where Cesaro went into the office and challenged Roman to a non-title match, which I'm guessing, and a lot of people was kind of buzzed about that. Like, why would he challenge him to a non-title match? And I figured he would challenge him to a non-title match just to get him in the ring, like that would be, he's trying to prove a point, and you would challenge him to a non-title match just to get him into the ring. He would be more likely to wrestle you if it's non-title. But Roman didn't even want to do that. So then he does another promo where he talks about, Paul might be right about my teeth and, my arms and all that type of stuff. But he's wrong that I don't belong in the ring with Roman Reigns. And I'm going to show that I belong in the ring with Roman Reigns by beating up on Jey Uso. And then, of course, we had Jey Uso promo where, I gotta get you. I gotta get you. I gotta get you, Oos. Oos. You gotta go through the right hand, man, Oos. And they went on to have a pretty good match. They really did good. Seth Rollins interfered during the swing. He dotted the eyes of Cesaro and then started yelling at him about, how this isn't over. It's over when he says it's over, which is becoming a recurring theme in WWE, people yelling that to other people. But I don't like, look, the disqualification finish is not unsatisfying, but that's kind of the point. Where we live in the world where, the heat goes on the company and not on the performer. Usually in the good old days, you would be like, oh, Seth Rollins ruined our match. Man, this match was going on great. Seth Rollins came up and ruined it. But in today's everyone's smart world, it's, why did they book a disqualification? It's like, oh no. So that's just kind of how it is, man. Like WWE is they have not done a good job of being effective with disqualifications and countouts. Usually they kind of BS them ways through it. But I think this was an effective disqualification. Not because, just because, you kind of protected Jey, who shouldn't be taking losses, even though he just won that Battle Royal. Let him have his momentum. You also have already told the story of the swing and how much Rollins hates the swing. So when he was, he was cool till the swing came out. Then he was like, all right, enough. and that's when he bolted to the ring to knock Cesaro on his ass because he hates that swing. So I can buy that. I can buy that. So the match was fine. I really unsatisfying finish, but what can you do? They're trying to postpone this. Likely they're going to do it probably 3 or 4 more times after this. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. But they're probably going to end up doing this match again in like 2 weeks or something. Maybe it'd be Cesaro and a partner versus Roman and Rollins. Who knows? All right. So the first match on the show was Otis versus Rey Mysterio, which Rey Mysterio won with a top rope crucifix, and Otis's shoulders were no way near the mat. Okay, nowhere near the mat. Otis as a heel he's been very silent. Like, he said nothing. I think really what got Otis over was his personality, was him talking. And they turned Otis heel, but he really has not changed. He's still kind of fat and jolly, except for he just beats up good guys now. Like, if he would have, changed his look, and this harkens back to the Jericho thing. If he just shaved his head and, shortened his beard, or even, did something like Jim the Anvil Neidhart with his beard, like tied it up or something, or, changed his gear to look more like Chad Gable, or, changed his music or something. It might feel different, but it still feels like jolly blue collar solid Otis is out there. It still kind of feels that way. I'm not saying it's a failure. I think just he doesn't feel like he's working heel. He just feels like he's still Otis. Dominic looked ridiculous as usual. He always looks like he's out doing some knucklehead shit. But this match was fine. It was a straight up match. Ray won, and there was no real complaints to be had. So then the next segment with Sami Zayn. So Sami Zayn comes to the ring, and he's talking about losing at WrestleMania. And he's talking about how he was screwed. That, the stars were aligned and everything was going to work out. He's really going to expose the conspiracy that has ruined his career for the last several months. And that Logan Paul was there to help him. But he sensed that Logan Paul was distracted. His mind was poisoned by Kevin Owens and the fans and the commentators and the corporate snakes and parasites that was all in his brain. So when I hugged him, I could feel it. I could feel that his energy was off. And because his energy was off, I was distracted. I kept thinking about him and worrying about him. And that's the only way Kevin Owens was able to get over and win. And so then he challenged Kevin Owens to a match right there at the moment. So Kevin Owens, of course, comes out and has the match. He doesn't say anything. They wrestle a pretty good match. It's okay. It's hard for these guys to have a bad match, but I've seen them wrestle 1,000 times. It's hard for me to get excited to see these guys wrestle when I've seen them wrestle so much. The finish is basically that Sami Zayn stayed outside the ring and got counted out on purpose. And then Dum Dum Owens, Bubba Ray Owens, Bam Bam Owens, King Kong Owens, he goes outside the ring. Tugboat Owens, he goes outside the ring. And after he's been disqualified or counted out, now they fight outside the ring. Kevin Owens had all this time, 10 seconds, to get back in, to go out, just break the count by going outside the ring and getting Sami Zayn and bringing him back in. Instead, he let the guy get counted out, and then he went out there and got him. They fought back to the ring, and Kevin Owens hit him with a stunner. Weird. Very, very strange decision to get the count out. I'm guessing the feud is not over and they're going to be doing this again, which gotta say I'm not thrilled. Not thrilled. We kind of need to start building the crescendo to this conspiracy. Like, we need to start talking about release dates for this documentary. We need to start building towards the apex of this thing. Usually WrestleMania should be the apex of those things, but yeah, I mean, hey, they're dragging their ass now. Okay, so we get it. Apollo Crews is super excited about being the Intercontinental Champion. Says, I would give Big E a rematch if he were here right now, but he is not. And he said he introduced us to Commander Aziz, the Nigerian Nail. And that's why Big E is not there now. And that the Nigerian Nail, Commander Aziz, was a former member of the Nigerian Royal Guard. And I was just like, man, Raw Underground was literally last year. I know he was off TV for a while, but bro, it was literally last year. If you look, WWE does this shit all the time. All right, they've done it literally 1,000 times with 100 different people. They turned Bradshaw from Blackjack Bradshaw to Acolyte Bradshaw to JBL. It was all the same person, and everybody knew it. It probably took some time for people to say that, Isaac Yankem was Kane, because it's a guy wearing a mask. Okay, so maybe people who read the dirt sheets knew, but I didn't know. And I was a kid during this time. I had no idea that Isaac Yankem and Kane were the same guy. I didn't know that until like '99, I think. So they got over on me for like 2 years before I figured out that it was the same guy. So, but they just decided like we're gonna wait like 6-7 months and then we're gonna get a guy a new gimmick. It's like no, what they should have done is given him a mask. Now we still would have known it was the same guy, but he would have looked completely different. I know Raw Underground wasn't around that long. I think it was like a 3-month program, maybe, if that long. But we still saw this guy on TV, and we can't just ignore it. I don't know, like it's WWE being old school at a time where everybody is smart and everybody's gonna just Google Raw Underground and be like, that's Dabba-Kato. So maybe we should weave Dabba-Kato in somehow. Like, why was he going by Dabba-Kato? He could still be Commander Aziz and have been Dabba-Kato at the same time. You can mix those characters. There's nothing that says that he wasn't a member of the Nigerian Royal Guard, and that's why he was in Raw Underground. Guys do stuff like that. You might be like, I was a member of the Nigerian Royal Guard and I got disaffected, so I went and joined Raw Underground. I was beating people up, and now I'm going back to my job. Whatever. There's reasons to explain it. But sometimes they just be like, well, it didn't happen. And that's really what killed Retribution, is that we all knew who those people were, but they refused to acknowledge that we knew who those people were. Like, the only thing they will say is that Mustafa Ali changed their name. And it's like, okay, fine, but why? Like, why? Why did he do that? But in this situation, I'm gonna take the L, because I like Apollo Crews, and Dabba-Kato has to do something. He's got to do something, and I'll take this. I'll take it for a little while. That's how it works. This thing is not going to last forever, so he's gonna be Aziz, maybe not Commander Aziz. He's probably going to be Aziz or something like that going forward. The Nigerian Nail as a nickname is okay. Actually, that's actually not bad. It's a alliteration. The N is an alliteration, so it's not bad. That's a Vinceism right there. When you have somebody that's doing alliterations, that's a Vinceism. He is really big on stuff like that. Salvatore Sincere, Marvelous Mark Mero. He's been Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's really big on multiple letters and stuff like that. But I'm interested in this, so we'll see how it goes. I just wish Raw Underground wasn't being erased. I was one of the few people who wanted to see it live and see something come from it, but they just decided to drop a nuke on it and pretended it didn't happen. Sad. So we got Bianca Belair's victory party, and this was dope because we got Pat McAfee singing the Street Profits theme song while standing up. He stands a lot. He's standing up all the time, which is cool. It's different, you know. Uh, but all right, so Montez Ford is, he's singing, of course, and he says that he got some inspiration and some motivation for their tag team title match tonight, and that the SmackDown Women's Champion was introduced, and he wanted to share his joy with the world. So Bianca Belair comes out, and she cuts an amazing babyface promo. She feels like a really natural babyface, and she's white meat babyface, but she isn't a pandering babyface. What she is she's an inspirational babyface. She's an aspirational hero. You know, it seems like she just has a natural goodness to her, and it comes across as cockiness, right? And that cockiness is not to talk down to other people. It is to motivate herself. Like when she says that she is the EST, of course she means, she's as strong as, fast as, tough as, etc. And that is heelish in a way. But in this way, she's saying like, hey, everybody has some EST in them, And she even drops those little hometown country things like my mind is blown and my heart is full, Like those, like that's like country shit. People like buy into stuff like that. And it's like the fourth or fifth time I've had to say this about simple things that people really get into. Is like poetic shit like that. Saying stuff like, if you can dream it, you can believe it. Yes, that's cliche as fuck. But it still needs to be said. Like truth, justice, in the American way. Like, sure, it's cliche, but sometimes you just need to say it so people will know what you stand for and what you believe. And, and it's also, when you really think about it, she says stuff like demanding greatness from yourself. Like that's inspirational, that's motivational. That is you putting expectations on yourself, not other people. Right? She's talking about when you demand greatness from yourself, you can achieve anything. And this is something that she learned from her family. Again, all these, hometown blues type shit. This stuff works on people. That's why, when you see, like, you're kind of surprised that, she gets such a genuine babyface reaction. It's because what she's saying appeals to midwits. She's not trying to talk over them. She's talking directly to them. And she also has a story that people have sat down and saw. They've seen her struggling. And then they're not running away from the fact that she's married. And, she puts a little bit she teases Tez and says, we only wear gold in this house, so you got to win. Motivating him a little bit. They have a natural reaction between the two of them. It's great. This is some really interesting stuff that they're doing here. And I thoroughly enjoyed the Bianca Belair victory party. So that was good. What was not good was the Street Profits losing. What was not good was Michael Cole calling the Dirty Dogs the Top Dogs. Now, okay, look. The Street Profits losing, I can accept it, but I don't like how they did it. Here's how I would have done it. See, what happened was, if you didn't watch SmackDown, Tez just got beat with the zigzag. He just got pinned. They didn't do no follow-up, which is something they would have done in the old WWE, right? In the old WWE, like in the 90s, or even in the early 2000s, there would have been a follow-up with like Tez in the back being disgruntled and Bianca sitting there trying to either motivate him or him trying to explain what happened, or even something that is even better is something that I would have suggested, which is that Sasha Banks or Bayley cost the Street Profits the tag team titles. You had this promo where Bayley is talking about, oh yeah, Bianca was crying because she didn't think she could win. She knows that she's not worthy of being the champion. And since I am the longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champion in history, I'm going to go take this pressure off of her shoulders. I'm going to beat her for the title. And Sasha Banks is so mad she can't even talk. And guess what? She still got the lash on her side. It's still there 6 days later. And Bianca Belair knows it and says that she left her something to remember her by just in case she forgot. You know, why not saying like the ultimate get back on Bianca Belair is I can't get you, but I can make sure your husband loses. And it could have been something as simple as Sasha Banks pulling Tez's leg off the top rope or something. She didn't have to hit him with a chair or hit him with a move or anything like that. It could have been something simple as Montez Ford gets on the top rope and Sasha Banks grabs his leg, you know, just distracts him a little bit. And that causes them to lose. And then you get Bianca running to the ring and Sasha Banks runs off into the night. Then I would have taken it to the next level. And as Sasha Banks runs off and Bianca hits the invisible wall, like, yeah, you better run. Then you have Bayley attack her from behind. Like, that would have been so much better. And it would have protected the Street Profits. The Dirty Dog still would have won. It would have protected the Street Profits. It would have made Bianca look like a badass because she came out there to save her husband. Sasha Banks would look like a cowardly heel. She took off running. And Bayley looks like also like a cowardly heel because she attacked Bianca from behind. And then you could also leave the idea that maybe maybe Sasha and Bayley are going to join forces again. And that could have been something that more people would have gotten into because people would have been like, oh, is Bayley and Sasha Banks, were they working together on this? You know, are they working back together? That would have been some intrigue. That would have been drama. There would have been drama. Real drama. And also you could have gotten two guys, maybe Rude and Ziggler, maybe two other guys that could have teamed up with Sasha or Bayley in a 6-person tag match or something like that. That could have been fun too. Like, so I don't have a problem with the Street Profits losing. Even though I love those guys. I don't have a problem with them losing. My problem is how they did it. They lost fairly clean. Which, of course, right after this guy just, sat out here and got motivated by his wife, he really shouldn't have lost. Or at least he really shouldn't have lost the way that he did it. Kind of shit on him a little bit. But the Street Profits had won for like a year straight, so it's not like they lose anything. The Street Profits are elastic. You can beat them and they'll just come back with Ted singing and everything's all right. So that was pretty much SmackDown. There was one thing left, Shayna Baszler and Natalya, but who gives a fuck? Really. Natalya is number one in our hearts. I mean, she is definitely number one in my heart. I love you, Natty. But there is just no way I care about this. And Tamina remains over, where people are still cheering Tamina. I have no idea why. And I think she slammed Nia Jax this time, or she knocked her down or something after the match. But, nobody cares about this match because neither one of them got an entrance. The match was probably about 4 minutes, if that. And it's building nowhere, and it came from nowhere, so who cares? I did find out that Reginald was not at WrestleMania because he is sick. Does he got the Rona? Maybe. But that's why he was not at WrestleMania. So that is SmackDown from April the 16th, 2021. A solid show. It did not build as much as I believed it should. Both Raw and SmackDown did the same thing, where they took a lot of the losers off the show. McIntyre wasn't on the show. Sasha was on the show, but she didn't really do that much. Big E was taken off the show. Rollins wasn't really on the show until the end. No Edge, no Bryan, no surprises, no debuts, no returns, nothing. It was a good wrestling show, though. I just feel like they should have done more, and they maybe should have. The things that they did do, they could have been more exciting with it. Like showing me the UFO again and again and again and again. While it helps, but I don't want to get attached to a move. I want to get attached to the guy. And while Sasha Banks being so frustrated that she can't speak is good, she still should have done something. Attacked Bianca Belair in the locker room or something. Um, you know, there's just other things we could have done, you know. So, but this was a decent show. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel, go into the description, hit the Cash App to send me cash right now. If you want to send me cash via Subscribe Star, $5 a month, you can do that. I appreciate it. You can also follow me on Twitter, but make sure that you like this video and subscribe to the channel. We're growing slowly, but we're growing. And thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.